Yep, to the right of that there is a red thing and then a black dial, and it's the black dial that you need to turn.
The SPU9 radio communicator. Yep.
Selector. So switch that to the very left, and that is basically on VHF radio. Then do you see the red dials that control the radio frequency?
Yes.
You can left and right click those. So change it to it reads 13. I think it's 136. Yep. Just let me know when you've got that to 136. 136000. Is that cool? Hello?
136000. Correct.
Alright, now mic switch up like we did before, and then press F5.
The which switch up, sorry?
In your throttle, the microphone switch, the black thumb switch that you use to talk to ground control.
Yep, done.
And then, yeah, F5 to get to air traffic control. The closest airfield is always listed first, so they're listed in order, so you can always tell which one you're at.
It comes up as ATCS, is that the one we want?
Yep, and so the closest one is always the top one. And so because we're landed at an airfield, it's obviously we're at Nelchik, and their airfield frequency is 136, so press F1 again and go request startup.
Nelchik, 101. Request engine startup.
Yeah, it said question startup.
Clear for startup.
Alright, now you do the same. No, that was me. Or was that you?
Nelchik,
No, that was me.
100. Request
yeah, you're
engine
100.
startup.
I'm 101.
Nelchik, clear for startup.
Yep.
Alright, so we're cleared to start our engines, basically. Now, before you move, remember that you need to switch back to to the intercom and tell the ground guys to turn off your ground power, because you can't fly an aircraft with it plugged in, because it would be like driving away from the petrol pump with the petrol pump still in the back of your car. It's not very cool.
Just use a long extension cord.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the first thing, just like the A10, before you get an aircraft started, is you have to, you've got to start the APU.
Yep.
As you probably know. So, you know where the fuel pumps are, etc. Yep. All right. We've got a fuel shutoff valve that you saw before, and next to it, it says APU.
Correct.
So basically, we're introducing power to the APU. Hooray! Then, if you go beneath that, you've got a red and black cover switch for the ejection system. Flick those three switches up.
So you don't need to turn on the APU one, it's already on?
Yeah, no, turn on the APU. It needs to be up.
Done.
Up is on.
And close the cover, yeah.
And yeah, you're going to switch it off, so don't need to worry about the cover.
And there's three buttons.
The red and black.
Yep.
Yep, that's the ejection system. So you're arming that just in case the APU has a bad day.
Done.
Now, you'll see above that, sitting on top of the right-hand panel, you've got warn, OPER, and a cover switch. Do you see that kind of facing sideways? OPER, warn.
This is above the orange switches, or?
Yeah, no, this is sitting on top of the right-hand panel. Do you see at the very forward of it?
Operator warn test GR2, GR3, yep.
Yep, so the forward one says OPER, operation. Lift that cover, and you'll see that it's set to off. And then you've got test, and what you want to do is flick it the other way towards operation, and then close the cover. What you're doing there is you're arming your fire extinguishers. So if you have an engine fire, the fire extinguishers will automatically fire.
Yep. So
Cool.
You flick it once to test and then once back to up.
Yeah, or just right click it and it goes straight to operation. Okay, the next thing, if we go down into the right hand panel and aft, we've got main hydraulics. Leave that alone because it's already set to on. We've got IFF, which you can turn on, but I don't think it actually does anything. You've got nav, we can turn that on. We'll start getting navigation data. Cabin pressure doesn't work. Valve wipers doesn't really do anything. Cabin pressure doesn't really do anything. De-icing is imaginary. You've got standby SAI. Turn that on because that is our standby attitude indicator.
Where's the standby? I've lost standby.
Do you see the nav switch that you flicked on? Do you see the main hydraulic?
Yeah, got the nav. Yeah, got the nav.
Yep.
Got
down.
Pressure.
Directly down is standby SAI.
Oh, standby SAI. You turn that on.
Yep. Go forward of that, and you've got anti-collision beacon switch.
Yeah, barely read it.
Flick. Yep, flick that on, and if you look at my aircraft, you'll see there's a red light flashing. It's our anti-collision beacon, so you turn that on when you're landing and when you're taking off, and that warns the ground crew that we're going to basically start having a dangerous helicopter. Just forward of that, just aft of the ejection system we just armed, is the weapons system, so you can flick that on as well. Although, you know,
weapons control system, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Now, we're just going to get some lights started up before we go anywhere. So if you go aft on that bottom row, we've got blade tip lights. You can leave them alone, I guess. But you can basically turn on a whole bunch of navigation lights, formation lights, etc. And the third from back is the lighting ADI switch. Turn that on. And the very last one says lighting panel HSI ADI, switch that on, and then you've got a whole lot of lights. And you can turn that off. Yeah, you can turn that off if you really want, but who really cares? So the way you get an engine started is obviously first the APU. Now we've turned the for the fuel cutoff valve. We've turned that. It's open basically. So it's pretty easy to get the APU started. The engine start system is over by the radio on the left-hand side. So do you see where we switched it to ground, you know, the dial that chooses the radio function? If you go forward of that, you've got some switches and buttons. You'll see directly forward of it, there's a little white lever. If you click that around, you'll see that it goes middle, then it goes back left, then it goes back right, then it goes forward, and then it goes middle. Do you see that?
Is that the engine startup switches, or?
It's next to that. So yeah, it's in that section. There's a white lever, and if you click it, it goes middle, back left. If you hover over it, it's called engine selector. Back right.
Oh yeah, I got
goes forward to turbo gear, and then middle. If you leave it on middle, it's actually on the left side. It says APU, so that basically means you've selected the APU. Now, when you first start the game, it starts on APU, so you don't normally need to flick that, but you just need to realize that that is selecting what the starter motor is going to start. You know, it's like just like in a car.
Yeah,
so
you get this zoom fix. Cause I can't actually read what's on those things.
Yeah, no, you normally can't. Don't worry about it. You just start recognizing the switches. You never really read it. But just remember, leave that one in middle, pointing up and down. So flick it around, you can see which way looks more like middle, as opposed to back left, back right, and forward.
So pointing up as in pointing forward, that's where it should be?
No, have it pointing kind of in the middle. So if it's pointing forward towards turbo gear, like, yeah, you'll see.
Yeah, I've got it right in the middle now. Yeah, I can see how you circled around. Yeah, it's got like two ups there.
Yeah,
three
so
ups.
You kind of want to get pointing back in middle. So now, we've selected the APU. What we're going to do is get it started. So if you come to the buttons, there's 3 buttons forward of that. And it says start, stop, and APU shut off. So just hit start, which is the left button.
It says start up selected engine button, so you just press it and hold it. Oh, just press one.
No, just press it. Now look by your door on the left side, you'll see that there's a little, off on its own, there's a little dial and some green lights with text on it. That's basically your APU function. So it'll say APU on, APU is doing stuff, blah 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 blah, valve is open, valve's closed. So you can just check that, you can check that it's nice and stabilized. Oh, hold on, I've got a phone call.